Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we've got some terrific spice in the Open Master League featuring a perfect IV level 51 Shadow MAGMORTAR. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now MAGMORTAR is a pure fire type Pokemon with the moveset of Karate Chop, Fire Punch, and Thunderbolt. MAGMORTAR definitely more of a spice pick than a pick for climbing, but this trainer has some very nice sets with it. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Shadow MAGMORTAR in the Open Master League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a very nice lead, Shadow Machamp into Dialga, and Dialga is staying in this matchup. Shadow Machamp easily able to outpace Dialga and fire off the Cross Chop. Cross Chop gets a shield from the Dialga. Opponent now going to save switch into Lugia, and this is what Shadow Machamp has been waiting for. Farming up, firing off the Paybag, big damage onto the Lugia, and in comes the Shadow Metagross to absorb the damage. Metagross is going to be single resisting the moves here from the Lugia as Lugia goes for the Sky Attack. They make Sky Attack number 2, trying to force a CMP tie with the Metagross, but Metagross does not have to shield that, and Metagross will be able to massively overfarm here and gets the farm down, denying a third Sky Attack. In comes Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh will be hit with the Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash gets shielded by the Ho-Oh. Honestly, I view that as a misplay by the opponent, as they know this can only be resisted damage. As with no shields remaining for the opponent, Shadow MAGMORTAR is about to go off. And to add insult to injury, the bad manners catch of the Brave Bird onto the Machamp. Back in comes MAGMORTAR, farming up, going for the Thunderbolt here. This is going to be goodbye Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh gets KO'd. In comes Dialga. This is only an Iron Head, going for the 2 shield flex and gets the 2 shield flex. What a game. Shadow MAGMORTAR takes down Dialga, and that's a good game. We see a tough lead in the next match, Shadow Machamp into Garchomp. Garchomp has a pretty good matchup against this entire team, so definitely not a fun Pokemon to encounter. This Garchomp is running Dragon Tail, and the Dragon Tails are doing so much damage to the Machamp. Cross Chop gets shielded. Garchomp firing off a charge move. Is it going to be the Sand Tomb? We see the no shield from the Machamp, and it is the Sand Tomb. And the Machamp is able to hang on and make a last-second charge move here. Cross Chop is going to get the Garchomp blow. We see an aggressive switch into the Metagross. Metagross cannot quite get the farm down. We see the no shield here from the Metagross, but they have Earth Power as well, and Shadow Metagross gets one shot. That is really unfortunate. MAGMORTAR snipes with a Karate Chop. Opponent sends in Melmetal. If this is their best response, the opponent looks like they are weak to MAGMORTAR in the back. Fire Punch will get the final shield. Melmetal, of course, can have access to Rock Slide, and this Melmetal is running it. We will see the first shield deployed from MAGMORTAR. MAGMORTAR farming up and again forcing the CMP tie with the Melmetal. Fire Punch will hit for super effective damage, getting that Melmetal deep into the red. Rock Slide will hurt. We will see the final shield used by MAGMORTAR. In the back, it is Excadrill farming up, and the perfect catch onto the 1 HP Shadow Machamp. You absolutely love to see it. Back in comes MAGMORTAR. MAGMORTAR farming up and going for the Fire Punch here. This needs the KO. Fire Punch cooks the Excadrill and has the second Fire Punch loaded for that Melmetal. MAGMORTAR closing strong, and that's a good game. Tough lead in the next match, Shadow Machamp into Ho-Oh. Now Machamp is not running Rock Slide, which means this Ho-Oh matchup is going to be extremely uncomfortable. Farming up a ton of energy, building up to the Payback, and baiting with the Cross Chop. Cross Chop is going to get a shield. Ho-Oh respecting the potential Rock Slide that this Machamp does not actually have. Ho-Oh goes for the Sacred Fire here. Machamp farming up and again bluffing a potential Rock Slide to the Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh double shields. We now see an aggressive pivot into Shadow MAGMORTAR, which will be answered with Zacian. Now Zacian, of course, is quite tanky. MAGMORTAR is going to start firing off Fire Punches. Going for Fire Punch number 1, and the Zacian is going to fire off a charge move here. Zacian goes for the Play Rough. That is resisted. They did not want to debuff themselves, but in doing so, they threw a charge move being resisted that MAGMORTAR can actually survive. MAGMORTAR looking for the farm down, not gonna get it. Zacian makes it to a charge move. Close combat will KO. But this does set up a farm opportunity for the Machamp. Machamp leaving with energy, but the Ho-Oh is still a very big problem. Opponent going to send Dialga in instead, again scared of the potential Rock Slide that this Machamp does not have. Machamp farming up, in comes Ho-Oh, saving a Cross Chop for later, but Shadow Metagross now tasked with getting rid of Ho-Oh, and this is not going to be easy. Sacred Fire, we do not see a debuff, that is huge. Firing off the Meteor Mash into the Ho-Oh, Shadow Meteor Mash is going to hurt Ho-Oh. Oh no, they make the charge move. Machamp needs the counter down to win. Machamp gets the counter down, has the Cross Chop loaded, and that's going to be good night to the Dialga. Dialga gets KO'd, and that's game over. Very tough lead in the next match. Shadow Machamp into Zacian. Shadow Machamp absolutely walled, but going to stay in this matchup and look to farm up quite a lot of energy. They do build up to the play rough. We will see an early shield from the Machamp. It is going to be the play rough from the Zacian. Machamp farming up so much energy here, going for a catch onto the Shadow Metagross. Not able to get there, and Zacian has built up to the back-to-back close combats. Close combat number 1, able to connect, and this will be lethal. So we see the opponent not switching out, just saying, you know what, you are not baiting anything out. I'm just going to stay in with the Zacian and get rid of the Metagross. In comes Machamp, going for one counter, and then the Cross Chop. They're debuffed. This will be lethal. The question is, what does the opponent have in the back? It's Kyogre, and this is so bad. Unable to bait out the Kyogre with the Metagross save switch. Opponent not falling for it, and this is going to be tough. Making it to the payback. Payback is a significantly stronger move than the Cross Chop, and it gets Kyogre low. Kyogre firing off a charge move. I think you just have to save the shield for MAGMORTAR and try and Karate Chop down. MAGMORTAR looking for the farm down. MAGMORTAR gets the farm down with a sliver of HP. In the back, it's Yveltal baiting with the Fire Punch here. This is a risky bait, but it pays off. Opponent commits the shield. Now the question is a Thunderbolt going to be enough to KO? Yveltal is quite tanky. Dark Pulse will be shielded. Going for one Karate Chop and the Thunderbolt. Will this be enough to KO? It is not. Needing the Fire Punch. MAGMORTAR gets KO'd by the Snarl and dies with the move. We have a battle of neutral damage in the next match, Shadow Machamp versus Metagross. Machamp, of course, will be able to outpace. Opponent goes for a catch onto Mewtwo. The catch is unsuccessful, but this catch is catching the Psy Strike onto the Shadow Metagross. Metagross will get outpaced here as Mewtwo will make it to the Shadow Ball if they have it. It would go down as a CMP tie that Mewtwo would win, so Metagross is going to commit the shield and just look for a pretty massive overfarm. Game ends up lagging just a little bit there. Metagross will be able to overfarm just shy of the back-to-back Meteor Mashes here. Meteor Mash is going to be shielded by the opponent. Again, they're going for the Shadow Ball, and we will see again a shield by the Shadow Metagross. Opponent going to give up switch. They switch back in their own Metagross, going for the Meteor Mash, and the opponent shields. And now it is payback time. Shadow Machamp, payback. Goodbye, Shadow Metagross. In comes the Mewtwo, but Mewtwo will be outpaced. Shadow Machamp banked so much energy earlier. Cross Chop will KO. In the back, it's Zerude. And Shadow MAGMORTAR may not even be needed in this game. Cross Chop, big damage onto Zerude. It's a simultaneous KO, but with Pokemon alive, that's a win. Hopping into the next match, leading Shadow Machamp into Kyogre. Considering the two Pokemon in the back get destroyed by Kyogre, definitely good to see the whale on the lead. Farming up with Shadow Machamp and throwing on perfect timing here, firing off the Cross Chop. Cross Chop will be no-shielded by Kyogre, but Kyogre dealing massive damage with the waterfalls, and now will grab an early shield with the Surf. Machamp continuing to farm, going for the Cross Chop before they're able to make Surf number 2. This will be lethal. Opponent is going to commit the shield. We see an aggressive switch into the Shadow Metagross, hoping the opponent will throw their energy, and they do. That's honestly massive. I mean, that does so much damage, but you cannot afford to take that water damage on the MAGMORTAR. So Shadow Metagross has energy, but took so much damage. It's another Zerude, farming up and firing off the Meteor Mash. This will hit for some heavy neutral damage onto the Zerude. Zerude commits the shield. They're firing off a charge move. Honestly, that's perfect. You just let the Metagross go, and you trust in MAGMORTAR. In the back, it's a Togekiss, and we have a battle of resisted fast moves. But the good news is MAGMORTAR has Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt hits for big damage onto the Togekiss, farming up with MAGMORTAR, and MAGMORTAR able to make the Fire Punch. That's going to be goodbye Togekiss. All that's left is the Zerude, farming up with MAGMORTAR, going for the Fire Punch. No shields remaining for the opponent. This will hit for super effective damage, getting them low, and the catch as well. You've got to be kidding me. Dark Pulse will KO the Machamp, but MAGMORTAR farms down Zerude, and that's a good game. We see a Nightmare lead in the next match, Shadow Machamp into Giratina, and Giratina beats this entire team. Going to stay in with the Machamp, and you just kind of have to hope that Machamp is going to be able to land a payback. Giratina full sends the Shadow Ball. That's a big shield. Farming up so much energy here, baiting with the Cross Chop. Oh my goodness, this is a double resisted bait, and it gets the shield from the Giratina. Do they know that you can store a Cross Chop and a payback? They do not. Opponent gets rocked by Shadow Machamp, and now the Giratina is low. The back line has play. In comes Metagross. Metagross able to get the Bullet Punch farm down, and Metagross up energy is incredibly deadly. Opponent sends in Dialga, so they are absolutely core broken by Metagross once the Giratina is out of the way. No baits here, going straight for the Earthquake. Goodbye Dialga, and it's a Zacian in the back, and Shadow Metagross is about to absolutely feast. Metagross firing off the Meteor Mash, the final shield deployed by the Zacian. Zacian at the back-to-back close combats here. We are going to see the no shield from the Metagross. Opponent went for the play rough, not wanting to debuff themselves, but the thing is, Shadow MAGMORTAR is here to clean up, making the Fire Punch, getting them low, and Shadow MAGMORTAR farms down. Tough lead in the next match, Shadow Machamp into another Ho-Oh. We saw before, Machamp basically has to pretend it has Rock Slide, even though it does not. Building up to what could be a Rock Slide here, opponent does not respect it. Things going from bad to worse, as Ho-Oh has 100 energy, and they're about to be a serious problem. They go for the Brave Bird. Machamp returning fire with the Cross Chop, but even despite the debuff, this is not going to be enough to KO. Ho-Oh able to hang on. Machamp lets it go, but down a shield and down switch advantage, things are looking very difficult. Sending in MAGMORTAR, looking for the Karate Chop farm down. Opponent gives up switch. They send in Dialga. Wait. The opponent looks like they might be weak to a MAGMORTAR up energy. Fire Punch gets shielded. Going for Fire Punch number 2. Looking to put some pressure back onto the Dialga. Fire Punch is going to connect. MAGMORTAR farming up, making it to another Fire Punch. Opponent looked for the farm down, and that is going to cost them their final shield. In comes the Shadow Metagross. Metagross up a shield, but the Dialga has so much energy, protecting against the Draco Meteor. It's the Iron Head from the Dialga. And this should only be another Iron Head here. It is going to be the Iron Head. Metagross able to hang on and get the farm down. The question is, does Ho-Oh have a move? If it doesn't, Metagross, I think, can Bullet Punch down here. They go for the catch. They get Bullet Punch down, and it's a Zacian in the back. And against all odds, this will be a win. Meteor Mash, get that Zacian out of here. And that's game over. Hopping into the final match, leading Shadow Machamp into Groudon, and considering the back two Pokemon get absolutely shredded by Groudon, definitely nice to catch one of the Primals on the lead. Opponent full sends the Precipice Blades on the CMP tie. Machamp forced to drop a shield and return fire with the Cross Chop. Cross Chop will be no shielded. Machamp will be able to make it to Cross Chop number 2, and this will be lethal. Is Groudon going to match shields? No, they are not. But there's the other Primal in the back. In comes Kyogre. We see a pivot into the Shadow Metagross, but things just going from bad to worse here, as unfortunately Metagross has to give up the final shield. This is only a resisted Meteor Mash, but at this point you need all the chip damage you can get, and the opponent is not going to let that happen. They're going to save Kyogre for getting rid of Machamp later, and they're going to send in Dialga. Dialga, of course, dealing resisted damage with the Dragon Breath, and will have to drop the final shield as the Earthquake is deployed. Metagross farming up, cannot make it to the Earthquake, but the opponent got worried. They fire off the Iron Head, and that will be lethal. But the issue is that Dialga still has energy. In comes MAGMORTAR. MAGMORTAR farms up, and we see the switch and catch. onto the Machamp, and Dialga KOs with the Thunder. MAGMORTAR needs so much energy to try and win here. MAGMORTAR over-farming as much as possible and going for the Fire Punch. Even minimally charged, this will KO. Can the Thunderbolt be reached? The answer is yes. Now will it KO? Shadow Thunderbolt KOs Kyogre, and that's a good game. All in all, these battles were a lot of fun. Shadow MAGMORTAR, I don't think I've ever seen that run in the Open Master League. So props for being able to take a pretty spicy Pokemon and against all odds managed to get some wins with it in the Open Master League. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.